Get a drill.
The most asked question I get is, how are you so beautiful? The answer is, I don't know. I was born this way. I've always been like the most prettiest girl in class, in the world.
Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
Welcome to Friday. You made it. You made it to the end of the week. And of course, most of you don't even go to work. Hey, we're working from home. Yeah. Okay. Whatever you say. Welcome to the show. As I said, thank you for coming to FramersView. It's Friday. As never a time, ever a time where there's just not enough news. I literally had to scrape out about 20 different pieces that I collected yesterday and today to prepare for the show. It was just stuff. It was just like voluminous. And I'm sorry to use big words for the liberals that are watching, but they were voluminous, which means a whole bunch. That's the Framers Dictionary version of what that is. Anyway, plus there's an exception to some things, and I'll share that with you at the end of the show, which is pretty tough. But we're going to do that. And so the socialists, the socialist groups are not learning. They are going to, as I've said, they're going to push and push and push and push and to get what has to come in here. Let me explain to you today on this wonderful Friday, which is, by the way, let's see, August, September, October, November. Yeah, I'm right. 5 months till Christmas Eve. Whoa. But anyway, starting from Barack Hussein Obama, they have been working towards building in the socialist communist movement. And Barack Obama was the slickest of all. But they planned on Hillary. Of course, Hillary's going to get in 16, and she'll be inaugurated in 17, and she'll carry out the duties as she's supposed to based on Barack Obama and the other socialists. But then this guy comes in that everybody laughed, yeah, he'll never get elected. He came down the golden, no, that'll never, Well, he got in, and he stopped the socialist movement. And then they tried to stop him by doing all the election nonsense, which we're learning more and more each day that, that game wasn't fair. But that's okay, because the truth of the matter is, as I look at it, thank God he didn't get in for a second term right after his first one, because we would have had chaos right now. And Biden was so incapable of doing anything right. All he did was, of course, build the one thing that he was amazingly good at, stunningly good at, was he was very good at increasing the debt and increasing the inflation. He was amazing. And he should be proud of that. And Jill, Dr. Jill, she knows that. She protects him in every situation, because we don't want anybody to find out that, I let him stand out there while he was having a stroke, she thought, and did nothing about it. We don't, he was struggling a little bit, but he had 2 brain surgeries. That's what the press says. I don't know. I wasn't there in the surgical room at the time. I was busy. I was rearranging my sock drawer on that day, and I didn't get to join. But as I was saying, these liberals are not going to back off. They're gonna push. Got a story here in just a minute about Mamdani. Craziness, but they're going to be powerful until they're not. And one of the kind of the proofs, if you will, one of the proofs of you're going to be powerful until you're not is Merlot, whatever her name is, Quiros, that won the primary for Democrat Party, beat out a congresswoman that has been in office for, I think, 262 years. And she crushed her, absolutely crushed her. And she is a whacked out socialist communist, Medicare for all the stuff. Everything's free. Life is good. You'll be fine. You're going to get everything, and everybody's going to vote for me because of that. Now, what I think has happened is the Colorado Party, Democrat Party, has said, hey, listen, you need to back off right now. You got elected in the primary, and we got to keep you down and low until we get closer to the election. And then once we get closer to the election, we'll bring you back out, and you can tell everybody how great you are and how great socialism is going to be. Although we're not going to use the word socialism, but we're going to say, we're going to have free Medicare and free this and free that and free Palestine, even though there isn't one. And just then you can do your nonsense, and all your voters will come out and vote for you. So, okay, got that? Yeah, okay. And they know that. They know they have to do that because, first of all, I made some notes. I got 3 pages of notes today of things for the show, and I did. Part of what I do is I try to write down notes that'll just keep me on track because anybody that watches my show knows that I'm a little bit ADD, but that's okay too, because that's why I do what I do. But the thing that is causing them to say, you need to be quiet at right now and get closer to the election, closer to November 3rd, is because they know what happened to Kamala Harris. She got appointed, not elected, appointed. I don't think she's ever been elected to anything, to be honest with you, on the federal level. And she got elected as a senator. But the point is, the more she talked, the more her numbers dropped. And this is the problem that they all have. Everybody has. That if they're not very sharp, if they're not very smart, there's a difference between sharp and smart. Barack Obama is smart, and he's really sharp, but he's crooked. And there's all kinds of elements. I've got a good friend that was the warden, and we're talking about somebody that was the actual warden at the maximum security down here in Colorado. And he'll tell you, those prisoners would come in and talk to him. He'd have a meeting with them maybe because of whatever situation would be. And he said, they will convince you that they're the nicest guys in the world. They're good at it. They're scary. They're good at it. And that's how they kill, rape, murder, whatever the case may be. But, when you talk about the situation with Kamala Harris, we knew we had to keep it quiet. They know those things have to happen, and it will. So a lot going on today. I'm going to cover this stuff real quick, what we're going to be doing. So number one, Bernie, my friend Bernie Sanders, what a great guy this guy is. He just all the time, anytime he gets in front of the press, and he's good at it. That's the other thing. But he's telling this news guy how it's, all these billionaires, they're not paying their taxes. They're not taking care of, nobody needs that much money. It's their normal stuff. And I did a story earlier in the week that we were talking specifically about the whole problem of, Elon Musk probably has somewhere close to $1 trillion in value. That doesn't mean he's got $1 trillion in cash. Where would you put $1 trillion? You know, even if it's in $1,000 bills, no. He's probably got maybe $100 million in cash, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have $1 trillion. You need 1,000 million to get $1 billion. You need 1,000 billion to get $1 trillion. And he doesn't have that cash. But Bernie, boy, he rolls on that. Jeffries, boy, he's talking about how these people, including Trump, you know, how they enrich themselves financially, you know, when they get into politics, and it's wrong. I'll show you some stuff on that. Elon Musk knocks down a liberal media person on some stuff she's throwing out there. It's really classic. And this guy is afraid of nobody and nothing because, well, he's worth $1 trillion. I can't imagine what that must be like. I really can't. I'd like to experience it. I get some information about how, and by the way, this was a British news person interviewing Elon Musk, and she's telling him all of the wonderful things about London and how it's safer than in London than it is in any place in the United States. No, not true. But that's okay. But then they've agreed to go to London, and she's going to show him. He's not stupid. He'll go there, and he'll be ready. He'll be prepared. And he'll say, well, let's go to the places I've looked at. That's what's going to happen. Mark Poland, boy, he talks about some stuff about Trump. You know, remember I always talk about the fact that it isn't what they say sometimes, it's what they don't say. It's about their story, not the story. These are the things that happen all the time with the press and people in front of people, and what the press is unwilling to tell you and what the press is trying to push out there. Does that sound like the 1920s and 30s? That's what happened with Germany, with Hitler. Now, they didn't really have a choice. He took over the press, and then he told them what they're supposed to say. Here in the U.S., we don't even have to do that because we're so weak and lazy that we just follow the rules of what the Democrats say. Trump accounts, I got some more stuff on the Trump accounts and why it won't work. It's just not going to work. And by the way, just so you know, voting is just too hard. It's too hard. And Mikey Sherrill will probably be able to explain that to us better in a little video a little bit later. Byron Gill, if you don't know who Byron Gill is, you need to really look him up. Look him up on YouTube. Just do a Google search. Go to my friend Susie Grock. She'll get you some stuff. He is he's a young guy. I think he's 32 or something. His questioning is so zen. And when he shoots the arrow, he always hits the target. He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So anyway, that's that. And then Bernie Thompson's classics. We'll have some of that anyway. And those tax cuts that Trump got us, those tax cuts, just so you know, is going to destroy us because we're going to have to pay for those tax cuts. And I would suggest, this is just a suggestion, but I would suggest the people that say that just go a little bit back in history and take a look at a guy. What was his name? He was president of the United States. Ronald Reagan. We all know that. And he fixed a craziness situation from Jimmy Carter when he took our inflation to 18 and 19%, not 9% like Biden did. We've built walls and protections to help control that to a degree. But Trump has to turn things around like Reagan did. And I've told so many people, when Reagan came in, when he came into office, he started the turnaround. And he was running for his second term before things really started to turn around. It took that long. We're only a year and a half into Trump's term. and he only has, the remainder of this 4-year term. But it'll happen. We got to end this crap that's going on in Iran. It's not Iran, by the way. Iran is something you say when a bad guy's chasing you down the street. It's Iran. I don't know why I give him any credit. But first, I always tell you that one of the things I do is I jump in to the news just before I start the show and see if there's anything new. And the new is, Mom Donnie made the promise. He got right up into the camera and he said, "We're coming after you, rich people. We're going to tax the hell out of you." Now, I don't want to take you through a financial course here, but I want to explain something to people that may not understand. There's income. Let's make it simple. Let's say you've got $1 million, okay? And you put that $1 million into an investment account, but you don't take anything out. You've got a job, you're making money, you don't take anything out. Now, that money is good. Let's say it earns 10%. It's going to earn more than that, most likely, if you're not just completely careful. So let's say you just make 10%. So that's $100,000. But you don't take the money out. So you didn't make $100,000. If you reinvest it, it's a different situation. But they want to take and tax your unrealized income, meaning that $100,000 you made, even though you haven't taken it, even though it could go away if the stock markets go down, even though you're not, don't have to claim it as income, they want to tax that unrealized an unrealized income. The same as Mom Donnie now wants to do, where he wants to tax these people that are in homes in New York City that is over $5 million value, and he wants to tax them each year for what the value of the home is. Well, first of all, it's unrealized income. If you buy something, here in Colorado, you buy something for $400,000 20 some years ago. Well, now it's worth $1.2 million to $1.5 million. Now you haven't sold it. So do you have to pay the tax of that $1 million? What happens if the market crashes? For me, the market has dropped down. I'm not going to say how much, but significantly as we've gone through this craziness that's happening in Colorado, and the market is down. Homes aren't selling. And why aren't the homes selling? Because the interest rate is too high. And hopefully Ken Warsh is going to change that. But so Mamdani, this idea of taxing people is crazy. So one of the things, Mike Lee made a comment, and it's really true. He said, never elect a politician who, 1, sees your money as a slush fund, 2, loves Karl Marx, or 3, uses French words like "péditier" to disguise new confiscatory taxes he wants to impose to redistribute wealth. That's what he's trying to do. I'm going to take this money and then I'm going to give it to things like government grocery stores. But it's Ken's money that lives in that apartment up above. And he's paying a huge amount of taxes in New York and not even using them because he doesn't live there all the time. But he's paying his taxes. So another quote. This is by Ashley Moody. Ashley Moody is the senator that replaced the attorney general that was there. She just went blank. She said, socialism, she's quoting this, socialism, Florida's best real estate agent. So the story is New York City's tax hasn't even started and brokers already say owners are calling to sell. GOP strategist and attorney Mark Cook said empty units don't tip doormen or pay supers. You're not taxing the rich. You're firing the working class that depended on them. But he either doesn't understand that or he doesn't care. And I would choose doesn't care. There's no other way to get around it. Margaret Thatcher said it in England years ago when Reagan was in office. They were buddies. And she said, socialism is great until you run out of other people's money. It's never worked, ever. Socialism has never worked. And they'll prove it, and you'll suffer from it. So Bernie took off and he went on his way coming out of a meeting. And when he came out of that meeting, he got interviewed by a news person. Watch this response to the money issue.
Sir, can you just follow up quickly?
Sure. All right, let me tell you something. The American people are disgusted with an economic system in which one guy on top, Elon Musk, owns more wealth than the bottom half of American society. They're tired of a situation where 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck, where our kids are likely to have a lower standard of living than they do, while the very richest people in America are getting richer. They're tired of a corrupt political system in which billionaires buy elections. They want change. They want candidates, they want candidates and members of Congress who have the guts to stand up for working families and not simply take big checks and have super PACs elect the next senators and members of Congress.
But why do you think Americans are flocking to these candidates? I mean, are they a liability for November?
No, I think if you have candidates who are standing up for the working class and explaining that there is something wrong when the billionaire class is getting richer and richer while so many Americans can't afford groceries, they can't afford housing, they can't afford health care. That's not the kind of economy the American people want. Thank you very much.
This is just nonsense. The billionaires that make more and more money, first of all, there's not that many billionaires. Okay? There's just not. And not only is there that there's not that many billionaires are going to make money in spite of themselves from investment income. They have businesses. They didn't come up with $1 billion because they just got $1 billion. They were entrepreneurs. They were successful. No billionaire, except for getting money from family, no billionaire just works a job and makes $1 billion. They get a business and they work their ass off and expose themselves to loss and failure. Every billionaire has failed. Every one of them. They've had failures, ideas that didn't work out. And that's the way that works. So for him to say that is just, stupid would be a shortcut. Stupid would be an example of what people don't understand about the world, because we are not in any way, shape, or form in a spot where we can really, just let things happen like they always have. It doesn't work that way. So, we'll see what goes on from there with this nonsense. I got to take a little break here. I've got a ton to cover today, and it's important that we get these things through. And I don't have a ton of time, but I do want to share this with you. So my computer stopped. There it goes. There you go. Hi. I wanted to tell you about Trevona Health. Access Med, powered by Trevona Health, is a revolutionary telehealth service that offers fast, free online evaluations and free home delivery of customized compounded medications, offering custom weight loss support, ivermectin therapy, hair restoration, cosmetic rejuvenation, custom ED treatments, and more. You can complete your visit in less than 10 minutes, and there's no subscription or recurring fees ever. We've made getting started easier than ever. Simply follow the link, http://www.trevonahealth.com Choose the product or treatment you're interested in, and then complete the quick online evaluation. Within days, your custom meds will arrive to your door. Mention Rumble in the coupon code and get 10% off your first treatment. There's a lot of waiting for medical help, and this is a good solution and a capability to be able to have the things that you need when you need it. So, as I said, I got a lot to cover. We all know who Hakeem Jeffries is. And this is a guy that, really has been for a long time just nonsensical with everything he says for a reason, because he has to cover up as much as possible of what the truth is. Truth shall set you free, But he's now going to tell you about this is crazy, because I've got a tag for this that's kind of classic. So Hakeem Jeffries is talking about how politicians come into the politics, and he's talking about Trump, of course, and they enrich themselves with using politics and their position. And it's notice too, every time Hakeem Jeffries is speaking, he's in a dark room. I don't get that. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know if they're doing that on purpose or if he doesn't want much light on himself because he really, looks like Satan, which he is. I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know this. It isn't never going to be anything other than Hakeem Jeffries saying this and saying that and saying this. It's kind of like Anthony Blinken. They have this truncated speech that they do. It's just crazy. But watch him saying about enriching your life.
Look, it's clear to us that if you've got people in government who are focused more on enriching themselves, their family, their friends, and their big donors, then they're not focused on making life better for the American people. And that's part of the problem that we have right now.
Oh, really? Well, that's part of the problem that we have right now. So here's the tag, Mr. Jeffries. Him talking about enriching. And of course, this was a conversation they were having about Trump and the fact that Trump is enriching himself while he's president of the United States. And remember, I mentioned a little bit earlier, I said, when you're a billionaire, you can't help but make money. It's just, hey, if you've got $1 billion and you're not making at least $100 million a year on your money, there's something wrong. Ask George Soros. How does he keep paying for all of these lunatics that are out on the street doing their thing? It's because he makes much money with his money in investments. But here's the point. Hakeem Jeffries talking about enriching themselves. Well, they had a vote in the House. And the vote in the House was to stop trading, and nobody can trade in the stock market. Nobody can trade when they're a politician in office. Well, here it is. Susie, my friend Susie Grock, got this for me. Susie Grock said that 197 voted against banning the stock purchases. And they were all Democrats. They voted against it. That wasn't all Democrats. There were some Republicans also. My point is they're voting against the idea of being able to use insider trading to buy stocks, because they know where everything is going on, especially in the defense world. The defense world of the military and all of the machines that are running in the military aspect, they know what's happening. So they go out and buy stock. Of course they do. What a surprise. How do you think somebody that goes in that's broke can possibly be worth? Joe Biden's the best example. He was a politician for, 162 years, same number as the number of baseball games. And he was all of those years, he was a politician, and he made, at the beginning, maybe 110,000. Then he was making maybe 190,000, and then he became president, and it's 400,000. But you have bills to pay. So even if you're making $400,000 a year, you've paid taxes and you don't have that money left over because you have bills to pay. And you probably bought another house, which you did, and you do all of these kind of things. You have multiple homes and all the things you do when you have money. So how do you end up worth 20 or 30 million dollars when you're only in politics all your life? Remember I said, billionaires make money by starting businesses that become successful. Amazon, Tesla, all of these things that go on all the time and they hit gold and it starts. Amazon was a bookseller website when it started. All they did was sell books. Yesterday, I ordered some stuff on Amazon that I needed, and I got up this morning, and at the front door was all my stuff. And I ordered it like 4 or 5 o'clock last night. That's why he's making billions. But they don't want to accept that, believe it, whatever it doesn't matter. They just ignore it. So Elon Musk decides to do this interview with a British woman, news person, who is kind of snarky and calls him a right winger. And just watch how he handles this. He's has no fear, and he's very smart. When you listen to him talk, you think, I don't know, this guy's really smart. And I've known some other people, truly, honestly, genius level people, and most of them don't really communicate well. And most of them are kind of within themselves. And Elon Musk is kind of that way. But when he gets something thrown at him like that, he very calmly goes, no, I don't think so. Watch this.
You support not just the populist right, but the far right. In fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right? Falsely.
You think is the normal person? Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal. In fact, one of the tricks that I think is funny. One thing that's quite funny is to like take a speech from Obama and Hillary, and then go to someone and say, who's sort of on the sort of what I call the lunatic left, and say, what do you think of the speech by Trump? I'm like, oh wow, he's the worst person ever. Actually, that was a speech by Obama, or actually, that was a speech by Hillary.
I agree. No, I agree that the center of gravity in this country has shifted. Certainly, the Democratic Party shifted to the left. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like Rupert Lowe. I'm talking
right,
about
please.
people.
It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders. That we should have safe cities. That we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right fringe? And I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in, but let me
Don't cut this part.
Yeah, this is just great. This is a guy that, most people that are wealthy become conservatives until they are told to feel guilty about the fact that they have money. And then they turn around and guess what? They go into this liberal bull and go a different direction. And it's classic how it happens, but it does happen. And it's kind of sad that could even possibly occur. So real quick, another piece with Elon and her talking about how London's so safe. Watch this.
Let me push back on that. Because you have
nonsense.
Elon, you have, what is it? Close to 250 million followers on X.
Yeah.
You say things like,
popular guy.
Quote, civil war in Britain is inevitable. Just a question of when.
On the current trends, yes.
I mean, when were you last in the UK?
A few years ago.
Exactly. So I live there. I'm there the whole time. That is nonsense.
You live a cloistered existence.
No, I don't actually. And the numbers also disprove what you say.
What numbers?
all the numbers about crime. London is a much safer city than any city in the United States. Violent crime in the UK is not where you think it is. In fact, it's coming down. You have painted, and because you have so many followers, so many Americans believe it, a kind of view that Europe and the UK are kind of, overrun with terrifying Muslim immigrants. There's rape on every corner. There's a sort of civilizational destruction.
I haven't said any of those things. If you have a large and rapidly growing group of people whose beliefs are antithetical to Western beliefs, at some point there will be a reckoning. That they will try to implement their views, and those who oppose it will oppose it, and that's what you call civil war.
Yes, because he's saying there's going to be a civil war in Europe. People have had it. And there's all kinds of evidence about that, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. There's all kinds of evidence of that. But, he lays it out in a true and accurate way when you get right down to it. There isn't some simple process of telling somebody, oh yeah, hey, guess what? There's no crime in London anymore. Well, the answer is yes, there is, but there's not as many murders with guns because, first of all, you're not allowed to have guns in England, but they do. But it's knife murders. And last time I checked, the length of a knife, when you're using that length of that knife is as far as the knife goes. Now, a bullet has an effect that goes a little longer. You might understand that. And if you do, I think that's great. So yeah. Hey, I want to take a quick break and we'll get back to this because there's so much to cover and I'm running out of time already. I just can't believe that. But want to tell you folks about Rumble Wallet. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects to MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code on the screen. Wanted to put that up there and forgot to do that. Sorry about that. But you want to click on that code. Boom, there it is. Once you click on that, you'll be able to get all set up with your Rumble account. Do it now, and then you'll be able to, from there, you'll be able to set up your wallet, tap buy, you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. Rumble Wallet, good idea, good way to go. Thank you, Rumble Wallet. Appreciate you being here. So Elon and this lady's talking about how safe and wonderful London is after he had been called a right-wing lunatic and everything else that they do and talk about. And it's interesting that as those kind of things happen, there's always truth that comes out. So this is going to just shock you, I think. I've got proof. I've got evidence. So this is a story that came out, and it tells more of a story. The Brits can't seem to heal themselves. Britain suffers from economic growth below 1% a year. Capital flight, concerns about woke government policies, and a rising crime rate. None of that is likely to improve under Andy Burnham, the new Labour Party Prime Minister who replaced Keir Starmer on Monday. He's the 7th Prime Minister in 10 years, who seemingly wants to try everything except the free market. Worse, his speech to Labour Party members last week was an attack on Margaret Thatcher's freedom reforms as a series of wrong turns. Burnham promised the most significant change moment in politics for 40 years. This is socialism, communism, including a possible rent freeze and raising the top rate of income tax, you ready? 50%. He claimed that under Thatcher, the country had surrendered control of its essential housing, water, energy, transport, and left people exposed to higher costs. That's not what happened there. Of course, that completely ignores how state ownership and union control had turned pre-Thatcher Britain into a sick man of Europe. I mean, Margaret Thatcher turned around at the same time that Reagan did. What is most troubling is Burnham wants to push through a radical agenda with no popular mandate. He was selected as a prime minister by votes of a few hundred Labour Party hacks. Polls show Nigel Farage Reform Party leads in the polls, but the next election isn't scheduled for another 3 years. Burnham describes his philosophy as business-friendly socialism, a contradiction in terms, even if we ever heard one. This is from Unleashed Prosperity. It's not that they don't learn. It's that they can't stand having success going on against their party. And so they come up with this promise nonsense stuff, and what happens? It's what always happens. The next thing that happens is they put this kind of thing in, and then eventually they destroy their community, city, state, whatever area they're in, and God save us if it becomes the United States or England. Why wish bad on England? But we don't need, in any way, do we need to have socialism or communism in this country. We've seen what that does. We've absolutely seen it. But the problem is that people don't understand or learn what they should learn. And that is that the press and the Democrats are going to tell you stuff, and they're not going to tell you what's really happening. And if that's all you see, you're going to believe it. I used to call people who vote Democrat stupid, but you can't really do that, because if they haven't watched anything other than this nonsense, that's what you're going to believe. And the press is supposed to be the guardrails for politicians, not the guardrails only on the party they don't like. Right? So why are we here? So this guy, Mike Pocan, I think is his name, he misrepresents the whole Trump authoritarian claim that he's making. This is the nonsense that people see. And if they don't see something else, they won't know. But there's some things you may not catch in this that's really important to understand. Watch them.
And quite honestly, this is what we're complaining about the government of Cuba doing, right? They're the ones who arrest protesters and put people behind the bars, and we've talked to the Cuban government about releasing some of those prisoners. But if the United States takes on that very same behavior, only does it in a way on the left-right political spectrum, that's equally bad. So, I think we are concerned that this is a tool to go after protest like authoritarian regimes do, and we simply can't do it. Tim Schneider's book on tyranny is kind of a book that many people have read during the Trump administration for good reason, that unless we speak out and do this together, a lot of things can slowly happen and we fall into authoritarianism. We can't let Donald Trump do that. So all the more reason for people to be active, to join protests, to join marches, no Kings rallies, whatever they can do. Speaking out is more important than ever to protect everyone that's involved.
Okay, so first of all, the idea that he's arrested, he's referring, of course, to illegals, which they're illegal, and that they're being taken out. And of course, the protesters that are destroying things, those people are being arrested. That's what they're claiming. And then he's saying that the ICE is out there grabbing people and disappearing them. That's his whole point. Well, guess what? The illegals, the immigrants that came in here over the border without coming through the proper channels, are illegal. They have a felony against them automatically. I think it's a Schedule 3 felony, but it's still a felony. And so there's a trial sometimes. There's a bench warrant that's made that this person's supposed to be picked up. Now they bring up this whole idea, well, yeah, they do that. And then there's people that get grabbed, when that person's being picked up. Well, of course they do, because those people are with an illegal. And they don't know who they are, so they take them in, they find out who they are, and they let them go, or they are illegal and they don't belong here, and they also go away. But that isn't authoritarian. That's just following the law that says you can't come into this country illegally. Can't do it. And everybody that goes after Trump, after the Democrat Party or Republican Party, they go after every person that ever has supported Trump. And the DOJ and Jack Smith was a big part of that. So take a look at this. This is a guy, this person, Peter Carr, he was a DOJ spokesperson for years, but he was a big spokesperson for Smith while Smith was doing his illegal actions investigating Trump. I will remind you that Jack Smith did not have the certifications to be able to be special counsel to go after Trump. He didn't even have the right to do it. But they just put him in. Now this guy gets fired. Watch this.
Talk about the environment which you found yourself in, and what was going through your mind when you opened up the envelope and it's like, see ya.
Yeah, so I'd been a Justice Department spokesperson for over 15 years, both a political appointee, also a career employee. And I wanted to speak out yesterday because I wanted to give voice to the hundreds of DOJ employees who have been unlawfully terminated by under Todd Blanche's leadership. That was my experience. I was doing my regular work, and then all of a sudden, I get a note signed by Todd Blanche saying, "You're done." And I was escorted out of the building within an hour after receiving that note.
No explanation, no rationale, no reason, nothing.
Nothing. I still don't know exactly why I was fired. Clearly, I was a spokesperson for Jack Smith. Todd Blanche saw me in the courtroom over multiple times in Florida and D.C., but I have been given no explanation.
You don't need an explanation. Okay, can't trust him. He knew all of these people that were working with Jack Smith and working with the crooked FBI at the time. They all knew what was going on. Those burn bags that were found now that Patel's come in, that has a ton of evidence that's going to be released soon. Those are things that then you look at the spokesperson that was puking this information to people that wasn't true. Well, what are they going to do? This guy's got to go. We can't trust him. We can't trust what he's going to say. But nobody told me why they fired me. My feelings are hurt. Too bad. When you know you're doing something wrong and you keep doing it, sooner or later, you're going to get caught. It's kind of like the guy that cheats on his wife. Sooner or later, the wife is going to find out. And the wife is the current DOJ, and they know what's going on, and they knew what happened. He made the comment, Todd Blanche saw him in Washington and in Florida. Yeah, spewing this stuff. You're out of here. And there's no illegal releasing of people, terminating people. He can let anybody go he wants to. So, a few things I want to get in here before the end of the show. This whole Trump account thing is burbling. They're scared to death of this because if it's successful, it's going to be bad. So first of all, watch this. I showed this video last week sometime, but I want to share it with you what this story is before we get into why it won't work.
The newly unveiled Trump accounts will act largely like retirement accounts. A lump sum will open the account given by the federal government. Contributions topped at $5,000 each year, but the money cannot be accessed until the child turns 18. And even then, it must be used on specific things.
Said this is such a great opportunity for her family. They can invest what they can each year, maybe some years they can't at all, but it also was about financial literacy. Here she is.
I think if you can use it as a tool to help kids with financial literacy and teach them, like, there's this thing and maybe we're putting money into it on your birthday, or just like any other account, I think the more you can help equip kids with the tools they need to like manage their money and understand investing and understand how all of this works, they'll be better equipped to like go out to the real world and be successful.
Okay, so this, once again, this is about being successful and being capable of doing things that they want to be able to do for their education. That's an important thing for kids and for parents. You know, the idea that they say it's not going to work. I'm going to show you here a guy that's saying this isn't going to work. The idea that that's said, first of all, a person's getting $1,000 when they're born into an account. They can't stand it. It's called a Trump account. But they're going to have that $1,000 in there. If they put nothing in until they're 18, well, I'm going to show you that in a minute. First, let me show you the guy that says, oh, this isn't going to work. This is just classic.
What is a Trump account supposed to really do for the average American family?
Not much. I mean, especially because the absurdly named Trump account is basically a deferred retirement account for people who are born today. It's not necessarily a bad idea, but it does absolutely nothing to help people in the short term or, frankly, even over the next several decades.
This is the nonsense. It's not a retirement fund. It's something that the kids can have at 18. That the whole idea is education, you know, trade school, college, whatever they want to go to. Now, take a look at this. This is a Trump account. $1,000 today can become. So invest. When the birth happens, $1,000 from the government goes into an account for that child. That's number one. Number two, you can put in up to $5,000 every year, or put nothing in. Now, if you put in, think about this. There's some people that financially will not be able to put $5,000, $100 into the account. So that would be sort of bad, okay? So if at age 18, if they put the maximum amount in, they're going to have $303,000. Basically $304,000. If they just get the $1,000 in there, they're going to have $5,800. But if they take it out to the age of 28, they'll have $18,000 with no investment other than the $1,000 that went into it. If they put the maximum amount in, that kid's going to have $1 million that they can use for a number of different things, including college, including being able to go and start a business and a number of other things that you can do. So to say this isn't going to work, he said it all. You know, he has a problem with the fact it's named a Trump account. They can't stand the fact that this guy is successful. And they're not. That's the only way you can look at that. If you really hate this guy that much, stop and think why you hate him. And when the root of the problem is, guess what? We're not successful like this guy. Our party has never gotten anything done this fast. Our party has never done good things for people to speak of. We know that. That's why Lincoln, a Republican, had to stop slavery. You know, that's why LBJ, a Democrat, had to do the Civil Rights Act that he did. And the reason he did that is because he was getting pushed beyond belief, especially for those times. And he had to do it because of his position and his legacy. It just, think about it, just happens. So along with that, we think, how do we stop this? And the answer is vote. But you know what? It's too hard to vote. It's just too hard.
And by the way, to your question about making sure on the identification side, part of the challenge with this current bill that's being pushed here is the depths of requirements behind the identification. It's multiple forms of ID. It involves passports, which lots of people don't have. You know, it's so they want photocopies that you've got to send in with your absentee ballots. It's like purposely designed in a way, in my opinion, to stop people from voting who should be able to vote, citizens, and making it harder for people who should vote. That's my concern. And by the way, that's a concern of a lot of us.
Well, Josh, I'm sorry that you're so incapable of making copies or being able to go down and get the information that you need. And I've said this over and over again. Oh, first of all, he made the comment, you have to have a passport. No, you don't. You know, everybody that's born in the United States, okay, including Barack Obama, even though, well, if you were born, you have a birth certificate. If you don't know where your birth certificate is, then you can get to your state and the county that you were born in and request your birth certificate. And now you can go down and get your registration done. I had to do that when I moved here to Colorado to be able to register to vote. And I couldn't find my birth certificate. I've moved 470 times in my life. Couldn't find it. So I called them. I gave them the information I needed to give them. Not even a week later, I had it. I went down and I registered. Done. Finished. No problem. It doesn't take anything. It takes a phone call. It takes going down to the Jefferson, the county building or the state building or wherever and get your information wherever you were born. If you don't live where you were born, okay, make a phone call. They can take care of it. You don't have to go there. They're going to get some information that'll be legal ID information, and they'll get you the birth certificate, and now you can take that in. So don't give me that crap. So Mikey Sherrill voting issue in New Jersey, which is where Josh is from, is right now trying to, let's say, cover the problem that she has. She's corrupt. Watch this.
We move very quickly because the people of New Jersey obviously deserve accountability and transparency. We're running an independent investigation right now to get to the bottom of exactly how this happened and what's going on. But, you know, it is not a surprise to me that the federal government, that the Trump administration wants to immediately weaponize this against people as opposed to focusing on making sure that we're running free and fair elections. That's my focus. I would say again that Trump has done more to undermine our election system than anyone in my lifetime, including Vladimir Putin. He has attacked the 2020 election, which he ran. He has also sent out an insurrection against us when we were trying to certify that election. He then has defunded all of the ways in which we protect and keep our elections safe. So contrary to what he's doing here in New Jersey, we are focused on running fair elections and getting to the bottom of what took place.
Now, if you're a dumb Democrat and you don't know what's going on, the comment that she made that Trump he ran the 2020 election. Well, no, he didn't. Every state has autonomy from the feds. The feds can oversee, but they don't run it. You have an election official for each state that manages the state. So this idea that he ran it and that's why he screwed it up. He didn't screw anything up. And when he called it the Georgia election officials and said, I need 11,000 more votes. If you've ever been in sales, you know exactly what I'm going to say. If you're a sales manager and you've got a sales team and your quota for the month as a sales manager is X numbers, and you're not hitting him. 5-6 days before the end of the month, you're on the phone with your guys, or you're having a meeting and saying, guys, we need 10 more deals. We need 20 more. We need 100 more deals. Get out there. Call everybody you know. What is Trump? He's a salesman. He said, look and make sure we've got all the votes. But they're going to turn it around and say he wanted to affect the election by telling him to change the votes. That's not what he did, and that's not what he was trying to do. It just isn't that way. All right. That's the end of Friday. Sadly, for a period of time, that's the end for me. This show, and I'm not whining, this show takes a massive, just a quick review. When I finish this show today, if I had it tomorrow, would be another show. I would be, I get some lunch. I come back down here, 1:30 my time. I'm done at noon my time. I get some lunch, and I come back down here, and I work on the show. Somebody put in a comment in the comments. They said, how did you find all this information, man? Well, I've got about 40 bazillion places I go to find these videos. And then once I find the video, I have to find it in other places to make sure it's for real. And then I do some studies, and I use my friend Susie Grock and check to see if it's supported. I spent a lot of time on that. Then in the morning, I get up, I walk my dog, I take care of all of those things, get a shower, come into the studio, and then I put all the new stuff in, order everything up, and I do my show. It's a lot of work, and I got a lot of stuff to take care of. So sadly, I have to go away for a while. I don't know when I'll be back, honestly. There's some home things that I have to take care of, and have some situations that happen at this house that is getting a little more difficult. I want to share something with you. One thing before I go. This is a picture my brother just sent me. That is a picture of me and my brother sitting at Lake Manitou in Indiana. When I was probably 4, maybe, somewhere about that. My brother's 5 years older than me. We're going out fishing. And there I am with my hands on my hips, my little belly sticking out. And my brother's very important to me. He sent that to me. I told him that I was going to have to stop the show, and I was sad about that. I think he just wanted to, kind of give me something to smile at. Anyway, gonna have to say goodbye for a little bit. Do me a favor, keep your eye open for my show coming back. If I get a chance to do that, I will. But at this point, we got to roll away, and we'll do something maybe later on. I appreciate it. Every person that comes to this show means something to me, and that's why it's so hard. But you guys have an awesome day, have an awesome week, and an awesome life. Until the next time, rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.